Hey Internet, it's RJ. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning into the show today. Now today's episode, again, we find ourselves mid to late 2025, even moving into 2026, in the middle of kind of like a credit card refresh cycle, if you will. Annual fees are getting higher, more coupons, more hurdles, more perceived value if you really want to listen to the marketing material. But it really begs the question of like what makes a credit card good in this era, right? Especially when you look back and harken back to the cards of old that we used to love. What makes a credit card good now? What is reasonable and expectable? What you would be looking for? So that's what we're going to talk about today. So of course, if that sounds interesting to you, go ahead, press the subscribe button, and let's get to work. Now, what I mean here again is, every so often, and this happens kind of in every sector, right? We see refreshes come, and they take a little bit longer than others. But I think we're finishing up our mid-cycle refresh. We've seen the co-brandeds get refreshed, the Hiltons, the Marriotts, that whole thing. Chase has just finished the Sapphire Reserve a while back. Amex, at the time of taping, is getting ready to go again with the Platinum. They've done the Gold and other ones already. City's going to put out their Strata Elite soon. Again, by the time you're watching this, it's probably already out. And these cards have, from our perspective, we cover them all, especially on the Sunday show. We do a news recap show every Sunday, and the responses are overwhelming. These suck. Some people like them and can find value in them, but if you harken back to the days of the Sapphire Preferred, the original one, and if you're younger, you might not know this, but when the Sapphire Preferred came out in 2016, like that one, we talked about that one like it was the Venture X of today. It might be a more recent comp for you young folk out there, but 100,000 intro offer. You had the $300 travel credit, which is easily usable. You had the 1.5x. You had the primary CDW, the travel insurances. You had Priority Pass, which again, at the time, we weren't sick of Priority Pass yet, right? Like now we are 10 years later, but like back then, I don't think anyone was really sick of it. There was no Sapphire Lounge, there was no Venture X Lounge. There was the airport lounges and like some Centurion, and like that was it. And so that was really a good card any way you looked at it. But now we've seen the fee hike, as you know, to $800. The 1.5x is gone. Things are locked. Some benefits are locked behind spend barriers, this, that, and the other. American Express will refresh their Platinum card soon. I'm sure you won't like it. And it puts us in a tough spot because it used to be much easier to identify what a good card was. Again, as the Sapphire, if you want another example, well, the airline cards, at the base level, you had the Delta Gold card, right? Or the Explorer card for United, like $95 to $150 range. But you kept it because they waived check bag fees for a bag for you and whoever's on your itinerary, right? And it was not really this groundbreaking thing. They were clearly priced to do that. But now, they've changed it to well, if you want to use that benefit, then you've got to use the card. No one really wants to use the card because they're not that good of cards to use. They were good cards that you would pay for, and it's basically like an arbitrage. You pay the $100, never use it, link it to your account, you get the check back. You'll easily make back your money in a one trip, honestly. If you check a bag these days, I don't know what prices are going for, but you get the point. But that loophole is kind of dead. They want you to use the card, which is not unreasonable, but it's still annoying. So are those good cards anymore? What is our expectation on cards? And I guess I'll tell you again, I don't necessarily know to have an answer to this. I was more so just curious and decided we would talk about it. And I also have the question from a standpoint of hosting and coverage, right? Because when you host something, we don't really do separate card videos anymore. We used to, but then it kind of just, frankly, we ran out of banks to cover. I think Xbox cards, like the last one I did. And if a bigger one, if one comes out, I might do it. But a lot of times I just put it into the Sunday show, the Sunday recap show. It seems to fit better for what we do here. But, this show is largely a news show and an opinion show these days, which is fine. I kind of like that. But anyways, the gist of it is if I wanted to cover something like the City Prestige, not the City, for the Strata Elite card, the replacement to the Prestige from way back when, for us, I might look at it and say, well, man, this card sucks. But it doesn't really suck for everyone. We forget it's kind of supposed to suck for us, right? Again, there's only rumors right now when I'm taping. So I guess the Sapphire may be a better example. But, if that card comes out, the refresh comes out, I'm like, most people are like, yeah, this kind of sucks. But it's supposed to suck for us. But if you come out with a hard and fast opinion on, man, this card sucks, well, then people who also kind of come to the videos from, outside this niche of the corner of the internet for an answer, well, you might kind of be misleading them as well by bashing it, because the card could be better for them, and it's kind of intended to be better for people who don't have a wallet full of credit cards and are trying to like wring maximum value out of the card. So like an example of this would be like the Sapphire Preferred 100K offer comes out this past spring, right, as it does every year. And so you have a lot of folks who make videos about, is it worth it in 2025? Well, I can answer that question in 2 sentences. It's 100,000 points, get the card, worry about it year number 2. It's okay, done. But people kind of take the more objective approach to it of an overview because they want to sell cards. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to sell cards, except for the fact that it does annoy your core audience. Not so much that you're trying to sell, but to sell the Sapphire Preferred in this example, even the Reserve in this example, you want to sell to a wide range of people, but you guys already know and have the card. So really you don't put a hard, fast opinion on this card is good, this card is bad. You stay more objective. And so you attract all these people from the outside who might get the card, while annoying all the people from the inside because you already have the card, you already know, or you don't think it's that good, you've already decided. It's probably why I don't really have that many more affiliate links, because I didn't sell a lot of cards. I do have videos like that on the second channel, run on the bank. But even then, we try to cut straight to the point. Like, it's fine, get the points and leave. We're just here for the money, right? And so the point is, how do you cover between those two audiences? Like, you don't want to annoy the core group. At the same time, you don't want to say everything is absolutely terrible for the new folks who it might actually work for. And so it really kind of begs the question again, like in 2025, what is the expectation for a credit card? And I think we could go deeper into this. But here's some of the things I look for when I sit down and look at one. Because I did get a comment one time, guy was like, how can you review a credit card that you don't have? Like, because it's not a product like an iPad where I have to like hold it and see how light it is and how good the screen is. You can just, reading the brochure and understanding the points value is usually enough. But, if I went through it, I would say the Sapphire Reserve is not a good card in its current iteration for most people. And that's because it's $800, but I also to me, it lacks a punch. It lacks a bite, right? Now, yes, you go through it, the travel. We don't have to belabor the point here, but you've really got to put value on platinum status from IHG. You can get primary CDW and travel insurances from its cheaper Sapphire Preferred. So I mean, there's got to be 1 or 2 key things that you really value. And I guess, yes, it is an arbitrage play if nothing else, if you are able to use all those things. So I'm talking about here number 2, if you use all of these things, if it turns out you like the edit, you like Chase Dining already, you like StubHub and DoorDash, all that stuff, then yeah, sure. But like that person is very rare, I would imagine. But again, they have it set up so that you don't have to use all of these things. You just need to get higher than $800 in value. And how much value you assign to IHG Platinum status, for example, is kind of up to you. But again, like I don't really think that's that good of a card. But I'm not just ragging on annual fee cards, because conversely, if we jump over to something like the Marriott Brilliant card and the Hilton Aspire, well, I don't have those cards. They're both $650, I want to say. I should have just written it down. Those cards I still believe are good cards, because that anniversary reward night, the Hilton one, is just like, I think it's uncapped and you can use it nights, weekends, like just about wherever. There's only a few places you can't use it. So like that value is like through the roof on that one night alone that you get, and then however much you value Hilton Diamond on top of that. I think you're pretty good there, even though it's $650. Again, you have to be into that. Someone like me, not going to stay at a Waldorf Astoria, I'm not going to pay for the rest of the nights, right? But even if you just, hey, this is my one splurge weekend, splurge trip, take your lady out, whatever, I think value is still there for anyone who's into that. That's still a good card even after the refresh. Marriott Brilliant, same way. Platinum status, which is really what you need nowadays at Marriott to get anything. They've, moved up a lot of their complimentary breakfast into their lounge areas, which you need like platinum and up to get into. But again, that reward nights goes up to like 85,000 points. So as long as you optimize it, make sure you're staying in the correct category. Plus, you can even add points to it. I think up to 15,000 points. So you could really get up there with it. I think that one's very clear. That's what I'm talking about when like there's still a punch behind it. There's something that if used correctly and is easy to use, it still jumps up in value. And I do think that's stuff we should still hold card issuers to, is where I look at, again, the Sapphire Reserve, and there's just nothing there that has that punch. And even the old version with the 1.5x was a punch in a different way, because the card itself I still think was meh, but if you surrounded it with the right supporting cast, freedoms, inks, that whole thing, then yeah, 1.5x is good. And I did book through the travel portal often when I used to have that card. I know not everyone here is going to do that, but still, if that's you, not everything is for everyone. You know, on the lesser side, I do think it's important to not dismiss cards. Like, to me, the Prime Visa from Chase is an amazing card. I know it's not for everyone, but you know, its flagship partner name, Amazon, gets you the highest multiplier, 5x back. You know, it has technically no annual fee, but it's designed for people who already have a Prime membership. Then it's just, you know, it's a little bit extra, which is nice. Another example I would say is, weirdly enough, the Instacart card. We did cover this one way back when. I don't want this card. I'm not going to use Instacart, but you know, having 5x back on the primary, the name partner, I think makes something a good card. You know, is it amazing for most people? No, but again, everything doesn't have to be for everyone. As whereas you look at something like the Target Circle card as well, I think the way it's set up, it's still 5% discount versus someone having to worry about points, and I believe it makes your Target Circle membership cheaper. One more on the no fee side, the Xbox card that we covered, while that one's like a 5x, you know, category for Microsoft, which is good, you know, they locked you into Microsoft points, which on one hand makes sense, but it's so niche now that I don't know how much money you're really spending on Microsoft products that I don't actually think is a good card for most people, even though it is 5% name on the name partners, where the Chase card at least gives you cash back. So all that to say is, you know, I think what's changed, it has changed, but there are still cards, there are still gems out there, and that should still be the standard we kind of look to. I also think there's an understanding that like we're going to have to tolerate a little bit more to get to some of those things, and I've said this in past videos, so I don't really want to belabor the point here. Is that, you know, if you talk about those annual fee cards, like, you're just going to have to maybe understand that, like, hey, there's one or two things that I want, and then if I can use the credits, great, but I might just let them go because I want those things. I've made it the example, you know, a bunch of times about, you know, phones, right? Like, I want the big screen phone because it's the nicest one. That's why I don't buy the Plus, and I don't use 128 gigs of storage. I don't use like my ultra wide camera that much, but I got the thing that I wanted, so it's fine. You know, not a big deal. Everything doesn't have to be like this amazing steal. So what's still makes a card good in 2025? Well, I still think those are the pillars. It really has to have a punch for the price. You have to be able to get your money's worth easily, not just nickeling and diming. Yes, we cherry pick, but that also kind of shows you how that it's getting significantly harder. I mean, you could throw airline cards in there if you are someone trying to get to status, then sure, but overall, I think what's changed, gone are the days where you can just desk drawer, sock drawer cards and, you know, easily use these credits or coupons or this, that, or the other. And so as far as coverage goes, I think I've really just tried to lay out what the card is intended for, what the product team probably wasn't trying to intend to do, and some use cases. And I will always give you my opinion as well. I do feel strongly about that most shows should end with an opinion. This card is good, this card is bad. The opinion can sometimes be meh. There's a lot of cards I'm like, yeah, no, it's fine. It's not good. Sapphire Preferred, it's fine. You know, you don't have a strong take on everything. But I do kind of want to stay away from just like, yeah, no, just here's an overview of the card. You decide, because this is really an opinion show. But yeah, I do think it's getting harder to tell what's a good card, or harder because they're not making good cards for us anymore, which is really probably the answer overall. So there you go, my thoughts on it. I'll turn it over to you. Let me know what's your expectations. How do you tell a good card from a bad card given the 2025 standards that we're in, because we're probably not going back to the way it was. So anyways, if you found this one interesting, drop me a thumbs up down below. Perhaps even subscribe to the channel while you're down there. We're posting content just like this every single week. Of course, right back every Sunday with all the news you can use in the week that wasn't credit and finance. And of course, every single day over on ProfitableContent.com, which is of course the channel's blog. It's always linked down below for you. We have the latest news stories, plenty of bank promotions, and of course credit card offers as well. Anyways, guys, that'll do it for this one. As always, thanks so much for watching. I'll talk to you very soon in the next one.